Shovelware Studios is incredible. Throughout the course of over half a decade, they have continuously created quality games to the Roblox community that even stand the test of time to this day. But how did we get here? To find out, we have to go all the way back to 2017. This year was when Roblox's logo used to look like this, and when Jailbreak was considered to be the most popular game on the site. But behind the scenes, some developers were at work on creating the first game under their new group title, Shovelware Studios. After deliberating, they would end up taking an interest in obbies. Now, if you ever touched Roblox in any capacity, then you've certainly heard of an obby before. However, they zoomed in on one specific genre, which they would later dub story-driven obbies. Basically, the premise is that when you're doing the obby, you're following a story of sorts. You know, stuff like escape prison obby, escape SpongeBob, find milk at the store and leave your kids obby. All the fun stuff. With that in mind, they decided to get to work, and sure enough, on May 18th, 2017, they would go on to publish their first game, Star Professor Poopy Pants Adventure, which was based off of the first Captain Underpants book. The story goes along the lines of this. Professor Poopy Pants shrinks the school, so you and, that's right, a bald old man, have to stop him from committing more nefarious deeds. You could tell by looking at the game, it was far more polished than the average RB experience. In fact, they're filled to the brim with cool references from the source material to the other random Easter eggs. Clearly, Shovelware was sitting on massive potential, as evident by the countless YouTubers playing the game such as Dennis, Ethan Gamer, FGTV, and Sketch. What this shows is they had to keep up the momentum, and sure enough, they released their second RB on June 11, 2017, this time revolving around the Cars franchise. The premise of this one is that Lightning McQueen lands in jail and you have to save him. Like the first game, this one also had fun Easter eggs that were so absurd that it's incredible that they were added in, such as Bomb on Battlefield from Super Mario 64, a bonus stage from Super Mario Sunshine, and you could also be a car if you wanted. Once again, many famous YouTubers jumped in to play the new game, and it was at that moment Shovelware realized that the obbies weren't just a one-time hit. So they decided to immediately work on more, and over the next few months, this would be known as the golden age of Shovelware Studios. Through June 28, 2017 to October 29th of the same year, they would publish 4 more obbies to their group, which were by order of release date: Escape the Minions, Ditch School to Get Rich, SpongeBob Movie Adventure Deluxe Director's Cut, and Poopy Pants 2 Spooky Pants. All 4 of these obbies would go on to be successful just like the ones before them, and they would all receive similar coverage by popular YouTubers, some of whom have played the group's previous games. However, there was actually a 5th game during this era. One that wasn't well known, wasn't an obby, and was, without question, the strangest game that the team had ever made. This game would be known as Shovelware Museum of. Yes, it's actually called that, I'm not cutting anything off. Published on October 7th, the purpose of this game is that you play as a turkey, and you have to solve some mystery in order to win. Also, Mr. Krebs and Rick Sanchez are here for some reason. Yeah, that's it. Even with that context, I can't tell you what is even happening. Now, their next obby wouldn't come for a whole year, as they wanted to make sure that it was their best work yet. Until then, they would upload 2 other games. The first was Santa Mech Tycoon, released on November 28, 2017. You had to build a giant robot Santa in order to stop the Grinch from destroying Christmas. Although it plays exactly like a tycoon, you do get this cool cutscene where the mech kills 3 people, one of which is a literal child. The mech won't stop at nothing until Christmas is saved. The other game was Brick Battle Blast, which was released on May 30th, 2018. I'm gonna be honest with you, this one is just Doomspire Brick Battle but with a different shade of paint. The only difference between the two is that when you're eliminated in Brick Battle Blast, you get to drop bombs on the remaining players. You know, something along the lines of Mario Kart 64's battle mode. Even Shovelware themselves knew it was mid, as they stopped updating it months after its release, and it's turned into a ghost town ever since. But now the time has finally arrived, as Shovelware Studios uploaded another obby on November 10th, 2018, known as Despicable Forces. The plot is that you and Gru are in jail, as all the villains from the Despicable Me franchise have teamed up, and they took over the world. So it's up to you to steal it back from them, This one by far was one of the best obbies of all time. As you could tell, there was so much love that was put into the game, from the obstacles to the boss fights, and especially the final fight where you're in a giant minion robot. That's perfection. Oh, and they have the creepiest arrow screen of all time. They really didn't need to go this hard, and yet they did. To put the icing on the cake, many popular YouTubers returned to play it again. It felt like Shovelware Studios was untouchable in a league all reserved to themselves, but that's when tragedy struck. It would soon be apparent that they would be at risk of getting DMCA'd off of the platform due to the various amount of copyrighted material within the obbies, and they knew this, which is why on January 17th, 2022, they've announced that they're launching a new chapter for the studio, and that they'll take down their initial lineup of games the next day to be worked on. The community was devastated, but they also knew there was no other choice, as there have been precedent for this happening. The only thing they could do now was wait and see what's next for the studio. Only two of the original obbies would survive the incident. The first, Captain Underpants obby, which was later rebranded to Shrunken School obby, and Despicable Forces, which Shovelware gave the rights away to another group. The Shrunken School obby in particular had a massive revamp, with new animated cutscenes, new characters, and Easter eggs referencing the old version, which may or may not contain your next sleep paralysis demon. And that too would have some YouTubers trying the new version out, but that alone won't bring the studio back to its former glory, so they went back to the drawing board to think of another game. It wouldn't take long before they would release their next game, Super Slime Simulator, on May 24th, 2022. The purpose was to grow your slime bigger and bigger with each passing second. It's pretty much what you'd expect from your typical simulator game, but the graphics and detail are drastically cranked to the max compared to other games in the genre. A few YouTubers would also play it as well, with the most notable being Kindly Kevin, who'd actually uploaded a video on the simulator only a few months ago. Super Slime Simulator solidified the fact that the studio could still make banger games, even during the post-obby era. But they take it one step further, and their next game would be the most famous one yet. One that would forever change the reputation of Shovelware Studios itself. Shovelware's Brain Game. Released to the public on March 11th, 2023, this would become the studio's magnum opus. The whole premise is that you're in a game show and you must compete against other players in getting answers correct, and whoever ends up with the most points at the end gets a special prize. There's so much charm and detail in this game that's only rivaled by very few in the Roblox scene. I won't go over all the interesting details as we'd be here forever, but some highlights that I want to mention include the speed boosts and checkpoint system from the obbies make a return as cool props, a challenge that directly references the 1981 Donkey Kong arcade game, and a secret obby made by the announcer that's infinitely better than modern obbies despite taking notes from old Roblox. As of writing this, the game has over 100,000 likes along with 22 million visits, and with those numbers many YouTubers decided to take the game for a spin, with some of them not even mainly known for Roblox, let alone touching a Shovelware Studios game before. Sure, it may not be as popular or well known compared to other games out there on Roblox such as Doors or Pet Simulator X, but Shovelware Studios is able to put a certain degree of quality in most of their games that can only be matched by a select few on Roblox. This group is so influential that there have been many unaffiliated members of the community who brought back the classic obbies, and a few even made fan-made obbies that were inspired by Shovelware. This studio has a special place in my heart, and with the recent success of Shovelware's Brain Game, who knows what the future holds for them. Only time will have the answer to that question.